Grace and peace, you guys. April Chapman here from Unshakable with April Chapman. And y'all, we are live at the Ritz in super hot Tampa, Florida, where the weather is warm and the people are warmer. I am here for the BLEXIT Liberation Show. I'll be hitting the stage and I'll be interviewing the National Director of BLEXIT, Mr. Pierre Wilson. You guys, he has an amazing origin story and we're going to talk all about it and more. So stay tuned and come with me inside the venue. Oh my goodness.
First time working with Tatum side.
The devil tried to get me. Had to take them shoes off.
Oh, okay.
He thought he had me, but he wasn't gonna win.
You had me worried. I thought, you know what?
No.
I take that back. That is serious.
Y'all gotta give it up for the TC band. Wasn't that incredible? Oh my goodness. My name is April Chapman. Grace and peace, you guys. I am host of Unshakable with April Chapman over on YouTube. Where are my Unshakables at? Y'all in the house? Woo! I see you. Listen, this moment means so much to me, you guys. I was around during those early days with BLEXIT when the organization was in its infant stages. And to be on this stage today in front of you guys and to interview the person that I'm going to interview right now just brings it all full circle. You know, when you come out as a conservative with these worldviews, it's a little weird at first because you don't really have a community. There's no community, you feel alone. And back in 2019, BLEXIT was that organization for me. So it is without any further ado, I'm going to be interviewing this afternoon, or this evening I should say, the National Director of BLEXIT, Mr. Pierre Wilson! Woo! Y'all, we got some old people problems. Hold on one moment. Let's get the iPad open. So, Pierre, before you get into your story, and I know all about your story and what it was like trying to come out and being handpicked by Candace herself. So we're gonna get a little bit into that. But before we do that, a little bit of my story. You know, when you come out as a conservative, your life before conservatism, all of us have this different path. For example, you guys, I used to listen to Al Sharpton every afternoon on my lunch break. Y'all, I had it bad. Oh, the mind virus, it was pretty bad. And so, Pierre, what I want you to do is I want you to tell the audience, who was Pierre before BLEXIT?
Ooh, that's a big one to unpack. I was a BLM activist. Yeah, I was a BLM activist. I don't have any pictures, so don't ask. I deleted those. But I actually marched with BLM, and I look back now and I can say this, but I had a victim mentality. But the thing is that I didn't know that I was a victim when I was acting like a victim. I very much would have told you back then that I was independent, I was, you know, someone who completely thought for myself, and there was no way anybody would manipulate me. But yet, I look back and I realized that I was voting a way that did not align with my values. I was sharing all the things that you hear the left share today when they talk about the fact that black people have to work 10 times harder than a white person. And mind you, I had graduated college and everything, and I'm still complaining as if I can't do anything in this country, as this country is giving me everything, right? I was very much a person who just believed that the color of my skin would define my life no matter what I did. You know, and it wasn't really until that awakening that things changed. But, you know, I didn't come from a two-parent household. My mom and dad divorced really early. They had a really toxic relationship. and I think it had an impact on myself and my siblings. So, I looked at that also as another reason why I should be a victim, or why I am a victim. And but again, and I'll wrap with this part on this question, I look at all of the things that happened to me and the way things were stacked against me, and yet I still went to college, I still graduated, and it was proof that with hard work, you really can do anything in this country despite your circumstances, and I now see that today.
I know that's right. Listen, I know how much, when we come from such toxicity, how it can impact the trajectory of your future. But what I want to talk about now, I don't know if many of you guys know, but Pierre was handpicked by Candace Owens herself. He literally was like the first BLEXIT person. And I know, that carries a lot of weight and a lot of responsibility. So what I want you to do now is, from the moment you were selected as like the point person to start growing this movement, when did you realize that this was going to be much bigger than this little organization that wanted to advocate for liberation and freedom?
I have to say, because when I first started doing BLEXIT, I started as a volunteer, and I had no idea that Candace or Brandon would ever even know who I was. I just really believed in the mission. I believe in what they had founded, and it resonated deeply with me. But I knew that them doing these shows were great. It was life-changing, but I knew that it had to go further than that. And, I went in and I started the first BLEXIT chapter in North Carolina. Lisa Matthews is somewhere in here. Lisa, I think she's over there. She helped me start that chapter, and we said, hey, we have to bring this message directly to people in the areas where it matters most. I'm talking the inner cities, go into the neighborhoods that no one else wants to go into, and really make a difference. And we did that with no resources at the time. I think we were spending our own money, right, Lisa? No, we were spending our own money, but we believed so passionately in this. Candace came across it, she saw it, she sent me a DM, and that DM changed my life. That was a DM where 3 months later I was hired. And I think, so to answer your question, I think I knew the potential of BLEXIT even before I was officially hired. I believe that BLEXIT had the ability to change the world if we go about it the right way. And something was different about this. I don't want to go long-winded, but there were other black conservative groups out there, but I felt like, and this is going to sound like shade, but a little bit of shade, but I felt like what a lot of them did was they celebrated the fact that they already were conservatives. You would see the same people at the same events every single time they would have one. BLEXIT was about reaching people that disagree with them, or people who thought they disagree with you, only to find out they actually do agree with you.
Right.
We're unafraid to go into those places and have those conversations. That's what makes it different.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that because, like you said, most of these organizations are for people who are already there. What I witnessed personally and experienced, the difference with BLEXIT was that it was changing hearts and minds. People who were actually very, very liberal, who came to an event like this, all of a sudden left like, okay, I guess Candace is not so bad. Or they would say, well, I guess there was some validity to a little bit of what they were saying. But as you know, the left for decades, or should I say, they've been actively trying to change the trajectory of this country. For the past couple of years, you guys, we've been living under the tyranny and watching it happen in real time, the destruction of this country and how it's impacted particularly minority communities. But in this movement, I would say that conservative thought has been celebrated. But since you are now called the architect of the BLEXIT movement, and you've grown it, I know, right? It's so fancy. A little architect of the movement. What I'd like to ask you now is that, what were some of the early moves that you implemented back then that you'd say laid the foundation for what the organization it is today?
Very simple. We pour into people. We build leaders. That's one of our lines. My staff, my team knows that. We build leaders, and it's not just a slogan. It is something that we truly believe in. There's people who come to BLEXIT, they've never held a leadership position. They want to get involved. We'll take the time. We have a BLEXIT education team that will train you, personal, professional development. We build leaders. I think there's a lot of people who talk about the need for more leaders in minority America, and BLEXIT actually is doing that. And just to say something to your other point, 70%, over 70% of BLEXIT leaders formally identify with the left. Okay, so these are individuals who have come here and they say, you know what, I've learned a lot, and now not only have I learned, I am willing to now teach someone else and help someone else. And they will only be willing to do that if someone is willing to invest in them first. So very early on, we decided if this movement was going to work, if it was going to be different, if it was going to last, we have to actually go into the places, get the people that people do not want to touch, spend the time, the resources, invest in these people, and build them into the leaders we want to see.
Awesome. You know, it's weird when you come from the left and then you make that shift toward the side where we are on the conservatism. We get told, or at least I know I've been told, oh, you hate yourself. Or, you're just caping for the white man, or you're always looking for the approval of white people. And I sit and I listen to these people say these things, and I'm like, you must be projecting. These people are living rent-free in your head. And I'm like, I don't wake up thinking that way. We have a Christian worldview that grounds so many of our beliefs. So talk to us about some of the friction or the tension that you've experienced coming from the left, being involved in BLM, and now espousing, the values that you espouse now. Talk to us a little bit about either what that felt like. Did it empower you to change or shirk back a little bit, or did it push you further?
God built me different, man. Every time when people come after me, it motivates me to go harder, to work harder, to help awaken people even more. Because I'm gonna tell you something, when I first started speaking about my conservative values, I noticed something. I was getting called names like Uncle Tom, Coon, all these different things. But what I noticed was that a lot of people were saying the exact same talking points. It was like I joked earlier, I was like, it's like they went to a class and I didn't take this class. They all had the same talking points. Right. And that's when I realized that, man, the black community has been manipulated. We are ready to fight and we don't even know what we're fighting over. It's like being told to do something but not being told why you're supposed to do that. Right. You're just trained to know that you're supposed to attack someone when they say they're conservative, but you really actually don't know why you have to do that. You just know you were told to do that. And that's what I realized was happening. So not only me being a conservative, not only did that cause a ripple effect through my family, and my mom stopped talking to me for 2 years. We talking now, guys. We're fine. We're fine. But she stopped talking to me for 2 years. She actually called me a disgrace to the family. She called me a disgrace. And cousins, uncles, aunts, different people. But I held my ground. I never wavered. I never changed because when God orders your path, it doesn't matter who is on that path with you. If he's already ordered your path, it's your duty to follow that path. And I did that.
What's for you is for you.
So ultimately, a lot of people have come around, and I will easily say today in 2025, it feels a lot different than it felt when I first started doing this. Now I have people reaching out to me nonstop, asking me questions, wanting to know more, versus just yelling and calling me a coon. So I think BLEXIT has had a huge role to play in why things are changing.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes this path is very lonely. You feel isolated. I remember back when I started my podcast in 2022, and it was just an old iPad and a mic that someone sent to me. I guess they felt sorry for me. I don't know. My audio probably was kind of bad. But I just remember those early days of feeling alone, like nobody's listening. And then one day you wake up. Y'all, one day I woke up, actually it was last week. My podcast had grew to 125,000 subscribers all by my little self. And so when you look at those humble beginnings and then you see the trajectory of that growth, talk to us about how did you move from being the first man in the room to talk and think about BLEXIT to now it's this multi-layered organization with a youth division and the college component, and then just the grassroots chapters all over the world. Talk to us about that.
Well, I'm nothing without my team. So really huge shout out. Can we give a round of applause for just the entire BLEXIT team, really? I have the most incredible team. We're like We're small but mighty, man. We can compete with the best of them. we work day in and day out, man. We were on there 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, working on Liberation Show stuff. They're very dedicated, so I just really want to thank them because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. And all the BLEXIT leaders, the passion that you see in this room, right? We have a packed room full of people, and there's so many BLEXIT leaders that help make this happen. For me, though, I would say really good mentors. You guys are going to hear from Brandon Tatum later. That man has been a fantastic mentor to me. A big brother. He has, you know, shared so much advice through the years, and he's not even looking to share advice to be seen. I'm just off camera, nobody around, just really giving me advice. And I know when I'm struggling with something, I can reach out to him. So having a mentor, I think is important, especially for men. You need a mentor. I know men, we like to think we always have it all together. We good. Have a mentor, man, because it helps. And then Vince, y'all heard Vince earlier. That man, incredible man. And he has come into my life and he's made an impact. So surround yourself with people who have been down that road, who have experienced the journey, maybe something similar to the journey that you're on. Soak in that knowledge, and more importantly, keep God first. You know, keep Christ ahead of your life. Don't make it a slogan. Don't just make it a bumper sticker. Like every day, every morning when I wake up, before I do anything work-related, I'm spending an hour in my word. That was something that I made mandatory, my wife and I, an hour in the word every morning before anything. Those calls, those texts, they can wait. But your relationship with Christ is the foundation of your life. So, you know, I think through those things is how I got here today and how this movement has gotten to where it is today.
Well, and I was just about to ask you about your faith and the role that it plays in all this, but you've already answered that. So let's move on to your younger self. A lot of times I look back at who I used to be, you know, obviously before Christ, when I'm, you know, dead in my sin and just living according to the path of this world. And then you look back at yourself and you said, you know, what would you tell your younger self? I have this quote that I wanted to read, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. It's by William Faulkner. And he says, never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. That's a part of what I would tell my younger self. If you could sit across from the younger Pierre, tell us something that you would tell your younger self.
I think it's 2 words, actually. It's keep going. Keep going. There were so many times, and we talked about this in a breakout room we did yesterday, there were so many times where I felt like giving up, you know, where I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I called myself a Christ follower, but I was forgetting that my Father is on the throne, and I was letting the people around me in the world that I lived in dictate how I looked at myself, how I thought about things, and yet I was calling myself a Christian. You can't be a Christian and a victim at the same time.
Come on.
How does your Father sit on the throne but you a victim? Isn't that something? Your Father sits on the throne and you're a victim. Come on now. No, you're not a victim. And so I would tell myself to keep going. Keep going.
Right. As we're going to wrap it up here in a little bit, but as I sit next to you, I can't help but to think back to 2020 when we were at the White House on the lawn. I'm talking, that was a dream for so many of us. And when we backed the blue, and when we actually came out the closet, so to speak, and made it known to the world that we wanted to change the world for the better. As now that we're post this recent election, not to make it political, but I'm sorry, we have to give organizations like TPUSA and BLEXIT, we have to give them the credit for shifting the minds and the hearts of the youth. The youth vote was major in this most recent election. So with that, give us a glimpse as to what is next for BLEXIT. I mean, we've done it all, but the thing that I remember is we didn't stop. When the defeat allegedly happened in 2020, you got to work. You got to work and you didn't give up. So what's next for the next chapter? What do we do now?
Well, I remember in 2020, I want to share this really quickly. I do remember morale dropped a lot. And I remember meeting with the team and I said, there are going to be groups that are going to fall because people are heartbroken, they're upset, they're angry. No one wants to help anybody right now. Everybody's mad. But we will show that we're different. We will show our staying power because we will put in the work when everybody else stops. And I am proud to say that we did that. We did that.
Right.
When we merged with Turning Point, and you mentioned this, thank God for Charlie. Shout out to Charlie Kirk, guys. Shout out to Turning Point was a blessing in so many ways. BLEXIT is as big as it's ever been. We have a chapter in every single state now. I couldn't wait to say those words one day, and now I'm just saying it all willy-nilly. It means so much to say we have a chapter in every state. We're now thinking, not only have we grown so much, we're thinking about, okay, how do we make sure we grow in the right way? And that's a great problem to have. It's not about can we grow. It's like we're growing. Let's make sure this growth continues to reflect and represent the core of the mission, and we don't lose sight on why we got here in the first place. And that's a great problem. So what's next for BLEXIT, man, is there is no limit. I was going to say the sky is the limit, but the sky is. I want to see a stadium full of this is going to shock the crowd, but I'm going to say this. I want BLEXIT to be so successful that BLEXIT isn't needed anymore.
Woo!
I want Charlie to come to me one day and say, man,
We did it.
the community is, what are you guys doing? Everybody's they understand. They're part of the BLEXIT community now. Who are you guys talking to now? I want BLEXIT to work itself out of business because then we know we've done our job.
Absolutely. You guys, your takeaway from this should be that one, BLEXIT is not slowing down. The truth doesn't bow to the lies. And we are so grateful for your fearless leadership, for your vision, for your desire to not want to give up. And you guys, the best is yet to come. You guys, give a hand for the fearless leader, the National Director of BLEXIT, Pierre Wilson.
Thank you.
I love you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Back to life, back to reality, back to the here and now.